Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It is your favorite dimpled hot mess here, the one with the ever growing TBR and the retired thirsty hot mess. Yes, this is who we are. I just wanted to get started and say a happy Summerween. We love a good gothic summer, whether it be a whimsy goth, cottagecore, pastel goth, and of course, the traditional Halloween goth. I have wanted to make this video for a while now, and I am excited to take you down my Summerween TBR and some hopefuls that I hope I get to read this summer. Summer's always been a busy time, but I look forward to see what else I could read. I kind of just been in and out of the horror genre a lot, and so far, erotic horror has definitely been one of my favorite genres this year, but also just dark romance in general. For those of you who do not know what Summerween is, I like to think of it as that one reel that we hear on Instagram and TikTok of like, you love Halloween so much you celebrate it twice. So it's not only a fall thing, it's also a summer thing. Whenever I think of Summerween, I think about just black swan floaties in my pool, black bikini time. And, instead of carving jack-o'-lanterns, we're carving pineapples and watermelons and giving them fun faces, and also just being outdoors and maybe watching a movie outside while also this movie being Coraline or like Corpse Bride or any summer slasher movie is always a hit during this time too. So that's kind of what I would like to think about, when I think of Summerween. But that being said, let's get into the reads. I'm going to start with an unhinged book that gives Pearl from the X franchise, aka a book with internal struggles and repressed desires leading to violent actions, the slow descent into madness, and one of my favorite themes of the thin line between passion and obsession. We see it with Pearl in X, and we see it with Nina in the Black Swan. These are kind of like the examples I think of with this book in particular. And this book is called All's Well by Mona Awad. The book blurb goes, quote, Miranda Fitch's life is a waking nightmare. The accident that ended her burgeoning acting career left her with excruciating chronic back pain, a failed marriage, and a deepening dependence on painkillers. And now she's on the verge of losing her job as a college theater director. Determined to put on Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well, the play that promised and cost her everything, she faces a mutinous cast hell bent on staging Macbeth instead. Miranda sees her chance at redemption slip through her fingers. That's when she meets three strange benefactors who have an eerie knowledge of Miranda's past and a tantalizing promise for her future. One where the show goes on, her rebellious students get what's coming to them, and the invisible doubted pain that's kept her from the spotlight is made known. End quote. Now, I have always been a big fan of the X franchise. I think that Maxine is Follow Me With This. I know I definitely went from a book to a movie, but Follow Me With This. I have always been a big fan of the X franchise. I think that Maxine is still one of my favorite final girls, but damn, did Pearl give us a show to remember. And I think this is one of the books that is the most recommended, most similar to Pearl's story. We see someone who has been down on their luck and who's been pushed and pushed because life is going to keep going whether we like it or not. And this is one that is on my list. And I want to start off by saying I didn't always like horror movies as a kid, but I have always loved horror books, and horror audiobooks have been the thing that has been getting me through my commute at work. I have always preferred hearing and seeing it over I've excuse me. I have always preferred hearing a horror story over seeing a horror story because I still think the shock value is more significant for me, if that makes sense. Don't get me wrong. I will always love watching my Ghostface and Michael Myers, and I'm, currently trying to work down my list of horror movies for the summer. And I'm still getting through a lot for the summer for like this horror movie list that I'm going down. And this book just came to my mind because it is one that I want to see. I think I always like reading about older women and, older women having that female rage. I think it's because, like, for me, it's like you see them have experience with everything in life and it keeps pushing him down. And I'm like, I want them to catch a break. But, people also be peopling, and we see that a lot in this book. I feel like it's that kind of book. um but speaking of summers and slasher horror movies and slasher books, of course, I have an entire list to go through for this Summerween TBR, since it is one of my favorite book themes to read right now. So buckle up, Buttercup. Okay, and the category is masks and monsters. We're going to start off with The Cotton Candy Massacre by Christopher Robertson. Now, I'm going to warn you now, standalone readers, this book is part of a trilogy, so keep that in mind. But also, if you could commit to a multi universe series of Monster Dick, I think this should be okay for you. I'm just saying. The book blurb goes, quote, "The book you're about to listen to is an account of the tragedy that occurred at the reopening of Bonkin's Bonanza one day in the summer of 1989." Sorry, I couldn't resist. Anyway, quote, "Some came looking for fun, like Candy Barton and her best friend Lee. Others, like Rocky Rhodes and Sully Sullivan, came looking for a second chance. Instead, they would find a twisted, funfetti nightmare. For many of the thrill seekers and families visiting Bonkin's Bonanza, that day would be their last, and the events that unfolded would go on to become infamously known as the Cotton Candy Massacre." End quote. You guys know me. One of the things I always say I love about summer is carnivals. Now put that in a horror setting and I'm happy. I don't mind. I love a good carnival. Like, it is something I will always enjoy reading about. I think it's fascinating, I guess. Even watching it on screen, it's still fascinating to watch, especially with Halloween and anything, even Stranger Things, that whole season 3 with the carnival scene happening and Alexi. Don't remind me of Alexi though. It's just so fun to watch. Um, Now, if you are a thirsty hoe like me and want some carnival nastiness happening, then I would recommend to you Satan's Affair by none other than H.D. Carlton, because we get a stabby Sibby as a FMC and her clown henchman. I'm gonna say the blurb just in case those of you who haven't read it or are thinking about getting into like the why choose genre. I have done a review on this, so I will attach the link down below if you want to check out that review. But for now, I'm just summarizing books that I recommend and books that I still want to read. So here goes. Satan Affair summary goes like this. Quote, "Every Halloween, Satan's Affair will come to you. We travel the country offering terrifying haunted houses, thrilling rides, and the tastiest food. And with every passing town, I cleanse this world, one execution at a time. I hide within the walls, casting my judgment for those that reek of evil, singing lullabies to their rotting souls. Once you've been chosen, there's no escaping my henchmen. They cater to my every desire. You can run and you can hide, but it only excites me. Come." End quote. And they'll be saying that a lot in this book. I'm just letting you know now. And I've said this and I'll say it again. I'm very excited for Sibby to get her own duet series, because I cannot be having just a little like appetizer of who she is, a little appetizer of like unknowns of How did Sibby know that one security guard with aid? Oh. With I was like I was blending in a Adeline and Zayd, guys, okay? But I know who Zayd is. But I know there's history there between like that bodyguard and Sibby, and I'm looking to see where their story goes. I'm thirsty for that story. Okay, spiel over. Okay. Our next category is summer camp settings. We have the YA novel of Dead Girls Walking by Sammy Ellis. Quote, Temple Baker knows that evil runs in her blood. Her father is the North Point Killer, an infamous serial killer known for how he marked each of his victims with a brand. He was convicted for murdering 20 people and was the talk of countless true crime blogs for years. Some say he was possessed by a demon. Some say they never found all his victims. Some say that even though he's now behind bars, people are still dying in the woods. Despite everything, though, Temple never believed that her dad killed her mom. But when he confesses to that crime while on death row, she has no choice but to return to his old hunting grounds to try to see if she can find and body and prove it. Turns out, the farm that was once her father's hunting grounds and her home has been turned into an overnight camp for queer, horror obsessed girls. So, Temple poses as a camp counselor to go digging in the woods. While she's not used to hanging out with girls her own age and feels ambivalent at best about these true crime enthusiasts, she tries her best to fit in and keep her true identity hidden. But when a girl turns up dead in the woods, she fears that one of her father's quote unquote fans might be mimicking his crimes. As Temple tries to uncover the truth and keep the campers safe, she comes to realize that there may be something stranger and more sinister at work, and that her father may not have been the only monster in these woods. End quote. Da da! I mean, come on. This book sounds so good. I don't read a lot of young adult novels, but this one I love a good mystery and like come on, a good horror built up. Like we already have the setting built in with this book blurb. Like how can that not catch your attention? And we're surrounded by the amazing queerness. Heck yeah, count me in, okay? Like I am all for the she's, zays, and gays. Like bring them on. I wanna be there. I wanna be there. All right. Last but not least, category is wedding season. I figured that since I'm engaged and I love the rom-com wedding movies, mostly like just Princess Diaries 2 and Bride Wars and Star Wars 2, those are like the main ones. Everybody else is like too toxic. It's just, it's not the same watching the 2000s. Other than Legally Blonde, I don't really watch 2000 rom coms anymore, other than maybe the nostalgia and just how bad everything was at one point. And since June is basically wedding season, also, at least here in the US, I'm not sure about everybody else, but in the US, June is basically the kickoff for weddings. Everybody loves a good summer wedding. Personally, not my thing. I hate summer. Like, I do not want to be in a fancy dress. My makeup just melts off. Anyways, without further ado, the next book that I'm bringing up for our wedding season category is Till Death Do Us Part, a monster horror romance by R.E. Johnson. Quote, getting engaged is a big deal in my family, and I'm only doing it because my dad insisted. Big money has big responsibilities. And, I'm willing to keep up appearances to get them off my back so I can focus on more important things, namely ridding this planet of some scum. The guy's hot, has a huge spooky mansion, and keeps to himself, so what's the harm in playing along? Trouble is, I had no idea when we said till death to us part, he'd take it so literally. Good thing I'm not your typical bride. End quote. I'm not gonna lie, this one is giving me Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibes with wedding and monsters, and like they both want to kill each other. And honestly, it's a huge freaking perk that we have monsters in this one. I can't lie. Like, I have yet to read Invitations by C.M. Nacosta. Like, that one is a book that is a wedding one that I want to read. And I did try reading it last year when I was freshly engaged, but life happened and then I got distracted. And then reading about that main character who's engaged planning her wedding was stressing me out because I know exactly how she feels. So I'm excited to read this one though, honestly, because it's just like they both want to, I don't know, part of me thinks it's also giving me a little bit of Ready or Not, because they're both married, but they're married, but of course something happens. It's not a traditional wedding night and they're kind of just trying to go at it. Honestly, I think this one is also on top of my list with the other one. But there you have it. This is my Summerween TBR for now for 2025. Is there any books that called your attention or any that you definitely recommend I read and just like push to the top of my TBR list? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you guys for coming on this Summerween book journey with me. And if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Until then, have a spooky, fun, safe Summerween.